Hello, this is John. Welcome to the NCGA FMC Ag Weather Outlook, May 23rd, 2015. Well, here's the status of corn planting. You can see that the eastern corn belt is lagging a bit in the 70s. Elsewhere, we see some 80s and even 90s. But of course, the area that's been extremely wet from Kansas down into Texas, you can see there's a lot of lagging in that area, as well as Colorado. But this is the current status of corn planting. Now, a lot of times when we get a persistent pattern, the big question is how long is that going to last? And obviously, the big picture here has been excessive rainfall, Texas and Oklahoma, extending a bit further to the north and to the northwest, and also a replenishment of some needed rainfall over the upper Midwest, and a recent tendency of drier conditions over the eastern corn belt. So the big question is going to be how long will that pattern last? Now, in this image here, these are a number of rain days. Green are indicating rain days above normal, or a majority of the week had some degree of rain, and then brown is dry. So, for example, Wisconsin had a very quiet week with either no rain at all or maybe just a day with measurable rain. Look at Texas. In East Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, that blue is indicating almost every day of the week there was some measurable precipitation. So how much rain fell? Well, here's a national perspective. It shows you that area of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, that was really the hot spot. Red, matter of fact, 5 inches of rain. But look how it sort of streaks north. That's been this trend we've seen now for a number of weeks. And North and South Dakota, Minnesota, this area has been very dry. And look at this. This is a really nice replenishing rain in this area that really help later as we get into the growing season, the hot time of the year. Eastern Corn Belt, not much rain at all, very dry, and you can see that here, not much rain at all over Illinois. Areas in yellow, that's about 2 inches of rain. Areas in green, ½ inch to 1 inch. So the upper Midwest, not a heavy rain, couple spots, some soaking rain, North Dakota, Minnesota, but overall more of a modest precipitation. The excessive rainfall generally looks like it diminished a bit as it pushed further north from Kansas. But Kansas on south, that's really where we had the most rain. So here's your percent of normal, with red being below normal rainfall for the week, purple being way above normal. So that area that had been really dry, North Dakota and Minnesota, look at that, 4 to 6 times normal for the week. So if you want to see how much either a surplus or deficit, I like to look at this departure from normal over the last 7 days. Now let's start with Oklahoma and Texas, Louisiana. That area in purple there is saying 5 to 8 inches more than normal just in this 1 week, this past week. And that's been going on for quite some time. So it's really been, that's the big major pattern. Is that going to continue or not? But look at the upper Midwest again. We're looking at an inch, and I even see a little bit of blue, even 2 inches above normal for that region. Those are surpluses. And then if we look at deficits, we see that area of yellow, and that's about an inch less than normal. I see a little dark yellow in Indiana, and that's a couple inches below normal for the week. So soil moistures are responding to precipitation patterns. You can see the very dark blue is indicating more saturated soils. A couple splotches of yellow in the eastern corn belt, so it is sort of going in that direction, but I think it's just that first degree. So we're sort of the first degree of shading of yellows. We're still in the broad normal range. And then look at the upper Midwest. That was definitely a yellow or a dry soils not that long ago. Now we're actually seeing soils a little bit on the wet side. Okay, so for the last 2-3 weeks in my briefings, I've been talking about this pattern of the jet stream here coming from the southwest and then pushing up towards the northeast. What that's doing is lifting pockets of energy, areas of energy out of the southwest, lifting north. And when they lift north, they generally miss the eastern corn belt. That's why the eastern corn belt's been dry. There's also been a lot of energy in here. They've been slow moving. This pattern has been here for a long time. That's why we're getting repeated rainfall in the south central U.S. And that's also why it's spreading up into the north central part of the U.S. This week, look at this. It's here again, the same pattern. So it's going to be a relatively wet week over many areas, but mainly over the same areas that have already been wet. Now here's an example as we get towards late Monday and Tuesday. Wanted to show you precipitable water. That's an indicator that I look at on how deep the moisture is. Gives me an indication of how heavy the rain could be. And you can see the Gulf of Mexico. These are the little arrows here, the wind flow. It's pulling Gulf of Mexico moisture in, and it's bringing it way up to the north here, both in that direction and also in this direction. So the entire Corn Belt's opened up now to the Gulf of Mexico, and that means a daily chance of showers and thunderstorms over most areas. Now let's look a little bit further out. And the one change that I see is that the southwest flow is not as pronounced as we get towards the very end of May and into June. It's more of a normal type pattern, a west-east pattern. This is May 28th through June 2nd. Sort of follow the jet stream here. It's sort of west to east. And then if we get towards June 2nd through 7th, more of a west to east. A more of a normal type pattern. Not as much energy embedded in this type of flow, not as much southwest to northeast type flow. So I do think there's going to be a transition. It's not going to be a major transition, but we're going to gradually get out of this pattern by the end of the month and into early June into more of a normal type pattern. So let's look at temperatures now. This is a map indicating temperatures this week. This is that pattern that is associated with that area trough of low pressure in the west. Cooler temperatures in this region, warm here, not excessively so. And then as we get into the end of May and early June, we're generally getting into a normal to slightly above normal temperature pattern over most areas. And then June 2nd through 7th, pretty much near normal, either a little bit cool, a little bit warm, or either right in the middle. So nothing extraordinary, probably near normal precipitation as well. But until we get there, here's this week, and it really looks like a week of excessive rainfall in the areas in red, primarily south of the primary Corn Belt, but definitely Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas. But I do think there will be a band of 2 to maybe even as much as 3 inches of rain extending up right in this area in here. Could brush parts of western Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. Lighter amounts to the east, lighter amounts to the far north. Okay, so that's this week. These are anomalies of precipitation. You can see most of the region is covered in green, saying above normal precipitation. It still looks like Indiana and Ohio, if anybody's going to lag a bit, that's going to be the area. I wouldn't be surprised in next week's briefing to see some red in there for departure from or for percent of normal. And then as we get into week 2, scattering of green. Now, note that you don't see a deep shade of green, and that's what I'm saying. We're getting to that more of a normal type precipitation. This is not bad at all. This is a very good pattern. This is indicating not too much rain, but a little bit above normal. If we do get this, this would be really pretty good. Now, I don't know if I want to use the word worried yet, but over the eastern Corn Belt, Indiana, Ohio, if any areas could be dry, I sort of see that being the area. Now, the welcome news, if you're in Texas, look at that, a little bit of yellow there, and that's saying that pattern is breaking down, more of a normal pattern, jet stream lifting a bit north. Week 3, into the climate models now, so this could change a lot. But right now, it looks like the Great Plains, Central Corn Belt, continuing above normal. So North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, and Nebraska, generally speaking, definitely adequate precipitation going into the 3rd week. Again, if there's going to be any area leaning to the dry side, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. And then week 4, about the same. So don't really see any pronounced no rain periods. It looks like adequate precipitation. So here are your temperature departures this week. Remember I said that the soil temperatures would be responding to this in the upper Midwest, cooling down, and indeed that's what they did. You can see the 60-degree line has dropped south again, but that's going to be working north. If you remember my images I showed on the jet stream, I was showing some brown. Jet stream a bit further north than normal after we get through parts of this week, and then it's going to stay that way. So I think we're going to be getting into a sustained warming period. So here are your soil temperatures currently. Because the eastern Corn Belt has not had as much rain and such, you can see we have had some warming in this area. But then as we go through the week, this is next week, by the end of this week, I should say, you can see significant warming above 65 degrees over many areas. That's that medium shade of brown. So here's your takeaway from today's briefing. A wavy front will be in the area for most of the week. That'll provide for a daily chance of rainfall for large areas of the Midwest. Adequate rainfall into June. I really don't see any prolonged or sustained or extreme periods of dry conditions, but I do think we need to keep an eye on the eastern corn belt. If any area is going to be tending dry, that'll be the region. Temperatures overall fairly close to normal. I think we'll have sometimes periods above, sometimes below, but not excessively so one way or the other. So as we're heading into summer now, we're setting the stage with spring precipitation, and we're going to have to see how it goes. But right now, it does look like a fairly normal pattern. So that's this week's weather briefing. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope I answered some of your questions. Please send me some emails. Let me know how things are going in your area. I'd like to hear up in the upper Midwest how things are going. Always let me, you can reach me at my email there, john@bluewateroutlook.com. Hope you all have a great week. I'll be talking with you again next weekend.